Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And today we are actually doing a movie review of 21 Jump Street, and it aired in 2012, and it stars Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, and Brie Larson is also in it. And it is a comedy movie, which I picked out, but I've never seen the show or any of the movies before. It just sounded like it might be funny. And this is comedy week, so it's one of the comedies that we are reviewing.
Well, I've seen the first movie. I saw it. I can't remember when I saw it exactly, but I thought it was a very refreshing movie when I first saw it, and I really liked it. The second one, however, I really did not like. I really don't like it. I mean, maybe it's not as bad as I remember, but from what I remember, all the funniest jokes were in the trailer, and they were repeating a lot of what they did in the first movie, but they were trying to be cutesy about it, which was what was really irritating. And yeah, I really didn't like it, and the reason why I say that is because this first movie was such a solid movie. I mean, you wouldn't have even had to have seen the TV show to like this movie. And it felt like this should have been like a solid base for a series, for like a, I don't know, 4 or 5 movie series or something. And nope, you just had that second movie, and then at the very end of the movie, in the credits, they're like, which movie would you rather see? And they gave you like a couple of sequel possibilities, and they said, go vote on social media. And it's like, honestly, after the second movie sucking so badly, I wouldn't have even wanted to have seen any of the possibilities. Like, none of the possibilities seem very interesting too, so I don't know. It's just, I feel like this series is probably the biggest fumble of like movie series of like the modern age, because they had something that could have been really good, and it just completely failed with that second movie.
Well,
Safi?
They could have done something like Police Academy.
What do you mean?
Aren't the Police Academy movies? Aren't there several, and a few of them are good, and not just one. So,
Yeah, but what do you mean?
That they could have made more, just like you said.
Yeah.
Like Police Academy.
Yeah.
Is it Police Academy a comedy? Yes, it is. So, and I don't believe it was based on any series. Actually, that was an original movie. So, with several different versions.
The Police Academy movies, though, were a lot simpler, because a lot of the comedy was just based around, like, goofy hijinks that are going on at this academy, and, it's a lot different than going out into the real world, going undercover, having to, investigate this whole drugs operation, and so...
It was a lot more dangerous.
A lot more complicated, and maybe that's why they were able to make more movies, but still, I really feel like they dropped the ball with this series, especially after watching this first movie again. You watch this movie, and you think, like, wow, this movie was really something. And, even someone like Safi enjoys it.
Yeah, I did I did think it was pretty good. And I did laugh several times, especially one time. Well, we haven't started the review yet, but
yeah, we have.
One time when they're undercover in a high school.
Well, yeah, that's the whole movie.
And they find who the dealer is, but they don't know who is the supplier. So, but they first have to find who the dealer is, and they find that out. And to prove to the dealer that they're not cops, they have to take what they're getting. So they get one of each, whatever it is. And so then there's this whole thing after they meet with them and they have to get out because this is right in the middle of school.
Yeah.
Between periods, or not even between periods, they made excuses and went to the bathroom. And I don't know what that other guy did, the dealer, but he probably did the same thing. And they go in the bathroom and they're trying to make each other vomit by sticking their fingers down their throats, each other's throat, that whole thing after that. And then they weren't successful, and because it was fast acting, whatever it was, and they were both affected. And they start the coach, I believe, stops them in the hallway, and they forget who they are. In other words, they have names and they switch them.
Well, yeah, I thought that was one of the best things about the movie, was that I feel like in the 80s or 70s or whatever, this movie would have been like, you know, they have their traditional identities and that's that. But in this movie, they switched them on accident. And so the geeky guy who's really good at science, I guess, he is put into the drama class, you know, the kind of filler classes, I guess you'd call them, if you're being, I don't know, simplistic. And then the jock guy, he is put into the AP class.
AP Chemistry.
AP Chemistry. And I will say this, Safi, you have to admit, before you get back to your favorite scene.
Well, that was my favorite part of the movie.
Well, before you get back to that, it is pretty convenient that he is able to adapt so fast into this AP class. I mean, I took an AP class. I took several. I took AP Government, AP World History, and I was interested in the subject. And still, it was a very hard time to take those classes. And, you know, like, and the teacher, you know, in the AP Government, he would even talk about how the tests are extremely hard and he doesn't know why they're so hard. And, you know, blah, blah, blah. But, like, you know, they were really tough classes. You know, AP isn't something to mess around with, like in this movie, where it's like, I guess it's all just like rhyming with, you know, rhyming with molecules or whatever, and then
chemical elements.
Doing little fun experiments. You know, like AP classes are a pain in the ass, and they're such a pain in the ass that they weren't even really like worthwhile taking. So, to me, after going through high school, I think it is a little bit of a plot hole how easy it is for Channing Tatum's character to do his class so easily.
Well, I think there's a bunch of he joins. They have some kind of club or something with the kids, boys in the class. It's boys. They don't show any girls, and maybe there's girls in the class, but there's like a group. It's like a club, and he meets with them, and he's really inclusive and nice, and they just all get along. They just want to have fun, and they just do all kinds of crazy things. He asks them to do it, and they do it for him. And I don't know, I don't know if he really learned a lot, but he was really good at faking it.
Yeah. And I really like that aspect. I'm just saying that the class part of, like, I know that the teacher was attracted to him, but AP classes are really hard.
Yeah.
And so,
well, they're meant to take place of to take off some of the hours you would need. Like in freshman year in college, you have to take all these. They're just required courses. You have to take them to get past them. And the AP classes can, if you take those, and you have to. It's not just making it through the class. You have to take this big test afterwards. If you don't do well, you don't pass the class.
And
you don't get the credit.
I didn't do that for either of the AP classes, which was funny.
And it costs money.
Yeah.
So if you don't get the score that they want on that test, you lose out on that money, and you don't get the credit. And so therefore, when you get to college that first year, you're still going to have to take whatever, English, history, whatever it is. And so it's, Marco liked the teachers. Well, and he
No, I
liked the
didn't.
material.
No, I didn't.
I thought you did.
No. I liked the subject, but I didn't like the teachers.
Oh, okay. And so anyway, but I think he just was really good at faking it, and they liked him because he didn't treat them differently.
Yeah.
He treated them as equals
Yeah.
and had respect for them, and I think that's part of it too.
That was the funny part, was that when they got to the school, they were expecting it to be just like it was back in the olden days,
Right.
I guess you'd say. And they were exactly the opposite. So all the people who would have been like the nerds back then, they're like the popular kids now. And then all the popular kids, I guess they're just kind of not very popular anymore, you know. They're just kind of in the background.
Well, thinking about different things, like they were thinking about the environment, and,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't have been doing that back when they were in school. It's just a different, and it's just like school shootings. People, when I went to school, nobody'd ever be thinking about stuff like that. So it's just, things change, environment and all that. So, but they still managed to, they did well. They tried to fit in, and even though Channing Tatum, he looked a lot older.
Yeah.
And even the coach recognized him, but they managed to, I don't know, sidetrack him or something where he didn't think about it anymore. He recognized him for when he was in school, I guess, but I think this was like 7 years later. So, anyway.
So, what?
So they meet up in being a policeman. The police, like a police academy, and they're training. And Channing Tatum, he's terrible with book work and tests, and the other guy, Jonah Hill, he's terrible with the physical part, where you have to pass all these physical tests. So they help each other out, and they both make it, and they graduate together.
Yeah.
But then, and they start out as bicycle cops. But they fuck up their original, whatever, mission or whatever they're doing. They go after these drug dealers, and they mess up and they get in trouble. So they're sent to this 21 Jump Street, and that is being undercover in a high school. And that's how they get their assignment, and that's where it begins. So everything that they do, they find out they have to report back to this guy, the head of it, at the 21 Jump Street place. And it's not just them, there's all kinds of young people there too. So basically the whole movie is really about, the main mission is they have to find out who the dealer is, which they do, and then kind of hang around him, and really the main goal was to find out who the supplier is, because a kid had died at this particular school right before they began their work. So they just show all these different things that they do. And
well, as I said, it's like a role reversal where Jonah Hill is actually thrust into being the popular kid.
Yeah.
And then Channing Tatum is like the nerdy little dweeb character on the side. And so I really like the movie a lot. I also like the romance because, I mean, honestly, that was really unexpected.
Yeah.
So.
And that was with Brie Larson. Jonah Hill and Brie Larson.
It was a good romance because it was so unexpected, and also because it felt like, again, like they were subverting a lot of the typical tropes of like high school movies of like, she had, her boyfriend was Dave Franco, and he was one of the bad guys, but then there was a part in the movie where he was like, I'm not really the possessive type. I'm not just gonna, be like those jocks in the Letterman jackets and, pin down a girl. I like to share or something, like something weird like that.
Yeah.
And so, I like stuff like that because it's refreshing and fun, rather than just, falling back into the same old tropes. And see, that's what's so good about this movie. Like, there's so many movies nowadays, and, they're, a lot of people like them, I can't really think of one right off the bat, but, really just, crowd pleaser movies, and they don't really do anything new or different. But then every once in a while, you'll have a movie like this, and this movie does do a lot that's new and different, and so that's what I really like about it. Ironically, since they are, just rebooting a TV show as a movie, but they're still doing something that's very refreshing. So.
Yeah, and we both liked it, and neither one of us had even seen the TV show. I could have seen the TV show. I've been around for a while.
Really?
But I'd never been interested. I'm not even sure when it aired. But
the 90s, maybe? I don't know.
Johnny Depp is really young. So, oh yeah, and Johnny Depp and this other guy, and I don't know who that is since I didn't see the show, but Marco looked it up, and he and this other guy who were in the TV show, they did a cameo at the end of this movie. I was looking for Johnny Depp, and he was really disguised. I mean, I never would have expected that to be him.
I thought that cameo was one of the best things about the movie because it was so unexpected and it was so much fun. Nowadays, whenever there's a cameo in a movie, in advance because of reviewers or because of IMDb. You can just go on there and search and, see the people's faces on the cast list. Even though they don't have what character they're playing, you're like, oh, that person's going to be in it. And so it was really fun to, be surprised like that because that's what cameos are for. They're supposed to surprise you sometimes.
Well, and it wasn't just a brief little second either. There was a little bit more meat into the cameo role. They were actually part of the action that was going on at the end of the movie.
Yeah, but they both died. It was pretty funny. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was a little surprised about that, but it doesn't matter. But I mean, still, it was usually cameo is. I'm thinking about that Casper movie.
Casper.
Where the guy looks in the mirror and he sees himself as Mel Brooks,
Clint Eastwood,
and yeah,
the Crypt Keeper,
and it's just like a kind of a flash, and maybe they say one line or something, and then they disappear, but this was actually a more a meteor type of role where they were part of the action, and he took off his disguise, and I mean, I was just like, oh my God! And he actually was in the movie, both of them, the whole movie. But they were so well disguised that unless you wouldn't have guessed him. The other guy maybe, but since we haven't seen the show, we wouldn't have known him no matter what. So.
Yeah. Well, so that was a nice way to tribute the show too. That's another thing. This is a movie that chose to respect the source material rather than say, oh, let's replace the guys with women and make it about feminism or something. This movie respected the TV show that it's rebooting or whatever, and so that's another reason why it's really good. There's only one thing about the movie I really didn't like.
What's that?
I didn't like the sad period. Right, Safi?
It didn't last that long, though.
Well, I didn't like it because I didn't like the lead up to it with the play, because it felt very predictable to me that the play would be ruined, and that that would be the impetus for the sad period, And that's exactly what happened. And then they're like, wah, wah, wah. Let's just cry about everything. And, I hate the sad periods in these movies. Right, Safi?
I suppose. It was a little screwy, and they get expelled, and
they get fired, too.
What's really interesting is that, yes, they get fired from their jobs, too. But what I thought was weird is that, and I don't know what would be the case always, but I would think the principal would be in on who they really are.
Yeah.
To protect them.
Well, he was in on it, but still, he had to treat them like they were students and, expel them if they deserved to be expelled. Or else it would have been suspicious. He said that at the beginning.
That's true.
But the thing
I didn't know that he knew who they were.
He did. He talked about it. That's why at the beginning he was like, which one of you is Bob and which one of you is Doug or whatever. Okay. So, but I would like to mention, like, what I didn't like about it was how Channing Tatum came on stage and rushed Jonah Hill, because I felt like it was so unprofessional of him. Like, even though he's mad at him, it was so unprofessional to, like, risk it all, everything that they were working for, because he was upset with him. And so that's what I really didn't like, was like, there's a time and a place. And it was just silly to, jump up on stage and start fighting him. It was stupid. Safi?
Yeah, I agree. And it's like he lost himself.
Yeah.
Lost who he was.
And that's a typical trope of, like, the sad period, is that, like, the character will lose themselves temporarily, and then they'll be like, uh-oh, I shouldn't have done that. It's just like, I'm kind of sick of seeing that at this point. The sad period. But again, it didn't last for very long.
No, not at all. But the movie actually moved along at a good clip.
Yeah.
And I think they spaced everything pretty well, too. They have action, and then it's kind of quiet. Then they have action, it's kind of quiet. It's not so like this show we're going to be watching later on, where it was really boring. For
American Horror.
Yeah, for several episodes. And then right near the end, I think tonight's the last episode.
It is.
You get all this stuff going on, and I've been reading the book. I'm almost done. And it does the same thing there. I can't believe it. But back to this movie, they didn't do that. And so it kept you awake. In other words, it kept
you awake.
In tune to what was going on, tuned to the action.
Is that the bare minimum we have to, like, accept nowadays? Like, it kept me awake. Like, fuck that. The movie's a lot better than that, Safi.
It's a lot better than that. But what I'm saying is that it was very tight, and it was very organized, and they, I thought nothing dragged, and they kept it moving along, and they had a beginning, a middle, and an end. It was like a story, and it may have been a kind of a brief, story, but it's still, they had a complete story, and I thought that was, it was really good, and it wasn't drawn out or anything. I also like that the villain was the gym coach. Yeah. Because it's playing on the trope that, like, nobody likes gym class. Oh, I didn't even think about that. I was kind of surprised. Of course, the gym teacher is the bad guy because everyone hates gym, Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But, yeah, so, yeah, I really enjoyed the movie, and I didn't know what I was going to think about it. What I'm really surprised about, though, and I think that this is a little bit of a plot hole, Dave Franco forces the main two to take the drug, as Safi said. Yeah. That was her favorite part. It was the whole thing. I'll tell you my favorite scene in a little bit, I guess. But but so did he force other people to take it? Because, like, if people were going around school acting the way that these two main characters were,
there'd be some problems. They could look at the camera footage and see people coming out of the yearbook room, starting to act weird and go like, what's up with that? Right?
Well, they were new. And what did they say? There was 2 months of school left or something like that. And, so everybody'd been there all year long. So it sounded to me like this was just an initial time. They'd never bought drugs from him before. And he gives anybody who's a first-time buyer this test. And as far as and so they did that, and they tried to throw it up, but it was a fast-acting drug. And
so what I was saying, though, was how could people actually function at this school if everyone is buying this drug and they're all they have to try it in school, which is really stupid. It's
I know.
Why would you want to try something like that in school?
Draw attention to yourself.
You want to try it at home first.
Well, I don't know. That's just what they did, and I don't think their security was all that good anyway,
No.
because when they were in the bathroom trying to make each other throw up, the security guard came in there and he was like, and then he left.
Well, the bathroom is a strange place. Would Safi like to hear a funny bathroom story?
Oh no.
Well, it was really bizarre because there was a girl in our class in 10th grade geometry, and she was breaking up with, or she had already broken up with some boyfriend or something.
Is that one of those triplet people?
No, Safi.
Oh.
Well, no, that girl cried too. That was a common thing, was crying in class over breaking up with someone. But this girl, she was crying and crying, and her friend was coming over to console her, and out of nowhere, she just takes her out of the classroom in front of the teacher, and the teacher just let them go out of class for the whole period. And what she did was she took her to the bathroom, and it's I don't know what, what's in the bathroom. It's really weird. It's really abnormal. It's just
was she crying in class?
Yeah. She just had her head down crying the entire time.
I guess the teacher didn't want the distraction and just didn't think she was going to be able to do that.
That's what it sounded like.
Well, anyway, and maybe also that she didn't think she was going to be able to even sit there in class.
It's where are they going? The bathroom. Even at the end of class, they never came back. And so it's what the fuck is up with that? Right, Safi?
Weird.
What do you think of that?
Drama.
You like that?
High school drama.
You like that?
No. But I can see what the teacher was thinking. But I think they would have been a little bit stricter about it. In other words, let him be gone for a while, and then she collects herself and comes back to class.
Nope. They stayed there the entire period. It's I don't know what was going on in that bathroom. And just think about if another girl comes into the bathroom, and then it's it's what the hell is going on in there? Or is that a normal thing of in the women's bathroom? You go in there to console each other? It's that's kind of weird. Right, Safi?
Yeah.
Is that what happens?
I guess so. So, I don't know what else to say about the movie. Marco was going to say his favorite part, though.
I don't know what my favorite part is.
Well, that part, because what happened was they got high, and just as for anybody who doesn't want their children to see that, I don't know what they took either. And they started imagining the gym teacher with all kinds of different heads. And one time, one of them was an ice cream scoop on an ice cream cone, and his head started to melt. And it was just hilarious.
Yeah, they were sticking their tongues out like they wanted to lick him. That was funny.
Yeah, and the gym teacher thought they were nuts.
Yeah, well,
he may have known they were high since he was the supplier.
Yeah, well, that was the thing too. Is like, if he makes the drug and he knows all about it, he probably knew, and he was just kind of like trying to play along or something. I don't know.
I don't either.
Like,
I'm not for sure about that.
I don't know.
He was kind of dumb though. It's hard to say.
I don't know, like, because I felt like the whole movie was solid. There wasn't any part of the movie except for that part with the play where it felt like I didn't like something. So I like just about everything in the movie. Safi?
All right, well.
What else do you have to say?
I don't know if that was Brie Larson's first role or not.
No, Safi.
She looked very young though.
Really?
I thought she did.
Do you like watching her when she's young?
I don't know. She's in so many car commercials now. She's always driving up to the top of a mountain and then...
That's what's pretty funny is that, like, you know what they say about women drivers.
No, I don't know because it's bullshit.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
How do you know?
I just do.
Because you are a woman?
Men are the ones who... The insurance is higher for a male up to the age of, I think, 28 because they're so immature until then.
No.
And yes, that's true.
It's because
Look it up.
It's because of society.
No, it's always been that way too. So insurance rates for males up to age 28 or higher.
Michael Scott agrees with me. Society is the problem.
Yeah, right.
Remember that?
Tuh.
Now, Safi, I would also like to mention how, the whole romance with her, I thought that it was funny because, they had to make her 18 for that romance to work. And it's so, and I say it because in the olden days, or I guess even in the early 2000s, there were so many, like, comedies that took place in high school, and you had people of many different ages, but they were all played by adults.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of like, anyone can identify with being in high school, so, like, why shouldn't, you be able to make, like, any type of movie in high school and have, like, crazy things happen, like, really, like, raunchy things or R-rated things, it's ridiculous, like, how they don't really do that anymore. But nowadays, if they make, like, a high school sex comedy, they have to keep on emphasizing over and over and over again, she's 18, she's 18, she's 18, she's 18. And so they do that, like, one of the very first things that they say with her is that she's 18. Did you notice that?
No.
And it's like, they had to do that on purpose, because they know that people would, get really upset and be like, oh my God, he's in love with the high schooler. Oh no. And so, like, yeah.
I see what you're saying.
So I thought that was kind of funny. That was one of the only things that, like, because they worked really well together, I think. Like,
yeah, they did.
That's
one of the chemistry.
That's one of the things I really hated about the sequel, was that they dropped their romance, and then he gets with, like, that one random girl, and she just happens to be the daughter of the Ice Cube.
Oh.
Stupid. Huh. I hated that. I hated that. But we're not talking about that movie, so we don't have to think about that.
No.
Right, Safi?
Well, the teacher, I can't remember who that is, but she's the one...
Ellie from The Office.
Well, that's right. I was thinking about that show where she had to be forced to live underground, and then she came out, and they rescued her. And
Safi, are you on something?
I wish I could try to remember that.
Are
show.
you on something, Safi? Are you on drugs?
What the hell are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about that comedy series where she's part of this man married all these girls and kept them underneath the ground in some kind of a tunnel or a God, there's all kinds of cases where kids have been kept in some basement in a room. And they had all these children with the man of their father, and then they
with the man.
Yes, whatever the man is to them. I guess it's usually their father. They had one case in Austria, and they had a case in oh God, was that? I can't remember, but anyway. And
you're obsessed with keeping girls in basements.
And the guy told them that they were having the apocalypse or something.
Were they?
Yes, and then
what was the apocalypse happening?
No, Marco. And then the cops rescued them, and they came out, and then she goes and lives in the city, and has an apartment. I can't think of the name, but she has red hair, but she could tell she liked Channing Tatum, and she kept giggling and saying he was, she was the chemistry teacher, and he was, you could tell he did look older.
Yeah.
And I think she knew. I mean, she just could feel it that he was older, but you don't.
Oh, she could feel it.
You don't know for sure.
That's
so
funny.
You can't act because she would have gotten arrested. So what's her name? I can't think of her name, but anyway, I forgot that she was on The Office. We're not on those episodes yet. So.
No. Well, we're getting very close, Safi. She's
Oh, really?
She's in the show this season.
I don't know what she's doing now. I know she had a baby. So.
Well, she was in that terrible Home Alone movie.
Oh, yeah.
You remember? But, God, Safi, you're obsessed with that woman. Stop talking about... We're talking about 21 Jump Street.
I know that. She was the chemistry teacher.
Really?
And then the last thing that they do in the show was the main thing where they were going to get they had the chemistry guys, like I said, they were geniuses, and they were able to bug the phones. And so they knew what was being said, and so they could find out who these drug dealers are. And I mean, they were just doing it for fun. I don't think they knew why they were doing that. And but the last thing is the prom, and that chemistry teacher's there, and she says, "Wow, you look really..." I know she said something to him, and then she ran away. But that's where the whole action takes place, and they have tuxedos on, and all the chemistry guys are all dressed up, and they have girls with them, and I think those girls were working at 21 Jump Street. I think they were undercover cops.
Safi, what's your food review?
Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to give it something that we recently had at Taco Bell.
Okay. I was thinking about Taco Bell too, but not
Yeah, because this is a Taco Bell movie. It's a Taco Bell type of movie.
That. Yeah.
So, I feel like, there's this one thing that they have at Taco Bell now, or maybe they had it and they took it away.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Because they take stuff off and put stuff on constantly. But, they had this new menu item called the chicken enchilada burrito.
Mm.
And, I didn't think it was the greatest thing in the world. But they had this other thing, and it was like beef. I can't remember. It was like a beef burrito with cheese and shit. The usual shit.
Mm.
But both of them were really new menu items, using the kind of same old ingredients. But they were both still really, really good. I like the beef thing better than the chicken enchilada one, but Safi really liked the chicken enchilada burrito. And so both of those items remind me of this movie.
Well, my favorite thing was the grilled cheese burrito.
I think they might have that still. I can't remember.
That is really good.
It's pretty. It's a little too rich with the. It's a little too greasy.
Okay, well, my food review is grilled cheese and tomato soup. And although I don't eat grilled cheese very much anymore because it doesn't agree with me, it just makes me kind of sick, Marco has apparently mastered the art of making a grilled cheese sandwich. So he makes a really good grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup. We don't make the tomato soup. I think we tried that. And we did just use one recipe. We haven't tried others. But I thought the chemistry between Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum was good. And also the way they fit into the school with the kids. I thought that was really good too. So it's kind of, I think
Yeah.
it's like a grilled cheese, a simple, really good grilled cheese and tomato soup, how those two things together are good. So that's why I picked that.
Something to mention that's really funny is that Dave Franco was also in Superbad for like 2 seconds. And I really felt like Jonah Hill and Dave Franco worked well together too.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting, I guess, after he was in Superbad to see him in this movie play such a bigger role. And you kind of feel bad for his character a little bit because he was just some kid who was roped into this scheme by the gym teacher. So,
Yeah.
you know. And I don't even think we get to see him in the sequel. And see, that's the...
Oh,
Just really did not like the sequel.
that's too bad.
I can't keep talking about how much I didn't like it because it just after this movie was so good, and then that was so bad, in terms of like what it could have been. Right?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything else.
You want to see that one?
Not really. I mean, you've talked enough about it in a negative way.
Oh, I hate
don't
it.
care. So anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and tell us if you've seen this movie, or even if you've seen any of the other movies, and if you've seen the TV show with Johnny Depp. And let us know what you thought about it. And become one of our subscribers. You're welcome to join anytime. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye!